Hey, everybody. It's like I just saw everybody not 20 minutes ago. Chris Martin here with chrismartin.tv. And I've got Barry Ezerski from Pam and Barry's team at Remax with me today. And Barry is a real estate broker here in the Lawton area that's been in the business for quite a long time. Everybody knows real estate, and Barry and Pam kind of go hand in hand. And want to get Barry on here and see what the outlook is and for his business, for the agency, the other agents, and real estate in general going forward. So Barry's going to join me in here, and we're going to unmute him here, and we're going to rock and roll. Barry, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. How are you today?
Well, it's every day is a new experience right now. I mean, it's challenging times for all of us, and we're learning new things every day, and we're changing on the fly as we speak.
Absolutely. It's I think it's impossible to not be affected by this on some level. Whether it's a business owner being completely hamstrung and having to shut their whole business down, to employees, to just general people walking down the street. I think everybody's getting hammered with it. So want to give you a little bit to kind of introduce yourself for those that don't know. And I find it hard to believe that anybody doesn't know who you are, but just to cover kind of the basis of, how long you've been in real estate and how long you've had Pam and Barry's team, and
Sure.
Just kind of run with it.
Well, I'm Barry Ezerski. My partner is Pam Marion, and we've been a real estate team together for about 18 years. I've been in the business for close to 30 years now. And we have a team, and team concept is kind of is something that's been up and coming in the real estate business for the last 10 or 20 years. They, as people tend to specialize more and more, that's what we do. Everybody on our team has a different specialty, and it allows us to focus and become really good at a few things rather than trying to have to be all things to all people. So we have 11 licensed realtors on our team. We also have a support staff of about 8 or 9 in our sales department. And then we have a property management division that has another 8 or 9 employees in it. And everyone is facing some changes right now. And it's something, in the 30 years I've been in business, we've seen some up and downs, but never anything quite like this. And of course, the country hasn't seen anything quite like this either.
That is definitely the truth. And, I know that Lawton itself for the last little bit, at least to me as an outside observer, has been kind of a buyer's market, if you will. And so how is that shifting in that mindset with this pandemic attached to it? How is that either raising or lowering demand for new properties and houses?
Well, it's kind of interesting because the winter was a little slow, but it started really picking up about the 1st of February. And in fact, I think our MLS had one of the best Februaries we've had in probably 15 years. And March was actually trending that direction as well until the Army announced about a week and a half ago that it was going to stop traveling, meaning PCS orders for people moving in and out of Lawton, Fort Sill would be halted for a while, at least until May 15th is the order, but it's looking like that may be a little bit longer. And so when that happened, things did slow down. I mean, we have a lead generation system, and our lead volume was averaging about 30 people a day were contacting us about different homes and so forth, people that were in town or people may not be here till August. And now we're getting about 4 or 5 a day. So the lead volume has dropped by probably about 60 to 80%, depending on the day, from where we were 2 to 3 weeks ago. And that does bode for some changes in the market. I was on a conference call with realtors from all over the country yesterday, and we're very blessed. I mean, our market is still, we still have people looking, and we still have people buying. There's markets where they can't even sell right now, and where they have shelter in place, and depending on the laws in that state, in some states, it's a misdemeanor to even show a house right now. And in fact, I do know of a gentleman who got a $500, and he was pulling the sign out of his seller's yard, and the seller just happened to come out of the front door of the house, and he was talking to him, and an officer saw them talking and gave him a $500 citation because of the shelter in place rule, and that was in California. So we haven't gotten to that point yet here. I think I think we're going to be having some, unfortunately, you'll probably hear about some cases now that they're going to start testing of positive virus people here in the county. And I think you'll start seeing even harsher requirements for people to maintain distances from each other and staying at home. So that is definitely going to have an effect on our housing market. How long it lasts is going to be the key, because for the short term, it may not have that much of an impact. If it goes a long time, then as people start losing their ability to earn income, the ability to be able to buy a house or even to rent a house is going to become limited, and that's going to cause prices to start dropping and so forth. And that's the thing we're really kind of fearful of, is we don't want anybody's equity in their home to be diminished. And that's one of the key points in buying a home, is you want to have that long-term investment, and hopefully the house will appreciate. And when you do decide to sell it at some point, you'll end up recovering a nice profit. So we would like that to continue, but at this point, everything's up in the air.
So how are you having to pivot as agents, as sellers, being able to get houses seen, either houses that you've already got on your listing, or ones that you want to get? I know over in I'm probably going to get the state wrong here, but I want to say it was New York, that somehow real estate is actually listed as an essential service. So they are exempt, at least for the time being, from rules like in California, where you can get a fine. So how are you shifting or plan to shift how you're able to sell these houses in this market for those that are interested and still do have the ability to move forward?
Well, sure. And I will tell you, we have a very active board of realtors in this market, and we are working actually as we speak on letters to the governor, to our mayor, and so forth, to allow real estate to continue to be an essential service if further restrictions happen. And I think that's really important. I mean, right now we have 4 people sitting in the hotel across the street from my office that are waiting on houses to close to get into them. We have a lot of people that are kind of in limbo right now. They were caught when all these shelter initiatives started. They don't have a home, and they're waiting to get in. We need to be able to finish out those processes to allow them to get into homes so that they can take shelter in their home. And that's one key element in what we're trying to accomplish right now with our directives toward the mayor and the governor. In the meantime, of course, we want to have anybody we come in contact with to be safe. We want our clients to be safe, our coworkers to be safe, the general public, and our fellow realtors. And so we have changed some things up on how we do things. When we're doing a lot more virtual tours of homes right now. We're doing more FaceTime showings and Facebook Live showings of homes. We just had open houses this last weekend where we tried something different, where in the advertisement, we actually published the phone number of the realtor who was holding the open house, and people could call them, and then he would walk them through on their phone on a FaceTime tour of the house. And that seemed to work pretty well. And then and if anybody actually did show up at the house, we were limiting the access to one couple or one person per showing, and then letting the other folks wait in their cars until they had time to go through it. And that's just to keep everybody safe and maintain the 6-foot distance and so forth, so we can still accomplish what we need to do and get people into homes, but still remain safe and adhere to all the regulations that are in place for a purpose right now. And some of the other things that we're doing as well is we are expanding our virtual tours to almost every house. We didn't have a virtual tour of every house, and we're now working on that so that we do, so that people can, especially people who are locked in. I mean, we have a number of military people right now who had orders for Fort Sill. And many of them were already in process and working with realtors to find homes and just hadn't arrived here yet. Well, they'll probably still come here eventually. It's just, they've just been delayed. So they're still interested in what we have here, and anything that's new that comes on the market, they want to be able to see it. So we're doing things like that. And then in our office, we're also trying to change things up a little bit. We've bought a program that allows our support staff to access their computer remotely from their house. So right now we have about 80% of our support staff working from their home, as well as many of our realtors as well. So, and then the realtors and the support staff we do have in the office, they have their own personal office, so they don't have to interact that much with other people. Because we really are trying to limit people coming in and out of the building to so that there's not that much contact. Even on our property management side, we're asking people to call in if they want to see a property. We'll put the keys to the property in a baggie before going out and showing them, and then we'll sanitize them when they come back. So it's all these new systems that we're having to put in place, but it's all to help keep everyone safe, but still accomplish the goal of getting folks into a place that they need to live.
Now, I definitely can understand the intricacies of having to make these adjustments, and everything you just said has been fantastically well planned, it seems like, and well executed. Especially down to the house showings, with individuals showing up and limiting that to just one at a time. And the sanitizing of things is it's crazy to think about, and especially when you're running a team of what is it? You got 20 people that are employees for you. Plus, you are in a shared building, so you have multiple businesses in that building as well that you're having to deal with their staff and whatnot, and hoping that their standards of staying clean and away from everybody are at the same level or better than yours, and so you can rest a little easier, not having to worry about that contamination. That's crazy. I applaud the digital side, because I think the entire internet is being taxed right now with everything being online. So I know you do, I think it was a Monday staff meeting, something Monday morning. So are you doing those in a video conference environment as well?
Well, we're doing this through Zoom, and we do our meetings now through Zoom. So
excellent.
So we do, we have a staff meeting. In fact, everyone in our that's in our building rental management department, as well as the sales department, there's about over 30 people altogether. And we would jam pack into our conference room usually. And the thing, we would start with some shout outs and some music and get everybody going. We're trying to still do that only through the virtual side of things and it's great to have platforms like Zoom that you can do that, where everybody can see each other and still interact and get the message across that we need to get across, and without having to relay the message to somebody else, and still stay safe. I mean, and keep people in their homes so that they don't have to venture out and worry about getting exposed. One of the other things I didn't mention that we're working on, in fact, we have a Board of Realtors board meeting tomorrow, and I think we're going to start implementing some of these rules across everybody in the real estate business here. One of the things that we've started on our team is when we show houses to people, we ask them not to touch anything out of courtesy to the owners and the sellers of the house. We ask them to keep their hands at their sides. We, as the realtors, will come in and have either gloves or a sanitized wipe of some type, and we'll open cabinets, closet doors, the doors of the house, and so forth with that. And then we'll take the folks through the house. If they want to see inside something, we'll open the cabinet door and make sure it's with something that's sanitary. And that way we can keep the houses safe too when the owners come back, and they can feel better about the situation when the house is being shown. I mean, we have had a couple of sellers that have decided to take their houses off the market because they don't feel comfortable with people coming through their houses. But then we have a lot of people that have to sell that house. So they're going to do whatever they can to get folks through it and hopefully be able to sell it. And in the same token, we want to protect them and the clients and make this a safe environment.
I definitely can appreciate not wanting people walking through your house while you're still living in it. That would definitely be unnerving, in this time to me, and always having to make sure that if you did it every day, somebody showing up having to re-sanitize the house every day would get a little exhausting for sure. And the approach that you're talking about with the gloves, the sanitize, like Clorox wipes, things like that, that almost sounds a little bit like royal treatment when you get down to it, depending on how you spend it. You know, you wouldn't have the queen open the door, you would do it for her kind of thing. So, and on a spinning it in an extra taking care of the client kind of way, I see could be a good thing. But on the flip side of it, it's like a 3-year-old look, don't touch kind of thing. So it's,
Exactly.
you know, you've got that balance between the two to worry about. So is there anything that so far with this that you haven't been able to adapt in a digital form? That is something that just ultimately you're going to have to put it on the shelf and just wait until it's available to do again?
You know, luckily there over the last 3 to 4 years, there have been enough apps, digital programs and so forth in the real estate business that we really have been pretty lucky that we can find a program somewhere that will adapt to whatever we need. And so this is actually, and it's creating all kinds of new opportunities as well for people and for companies that are creating things. So I feel very good with the digital capabilities that we have right now and what we're able to accomplish. There's always occasions where people don't understand things unless you're speaking face to face with them, and you can see kind of on their face that they don't understand something, or in their inflection or their body language that maybe you can't pick up over a phone camera or something like that. But it's still pretty minimal. I think most of the things we've learned to do, we can do over the phone. I mean, even signing contracts anymore. Oklahoma was one of the few states in the country that was still in the dark ages as far as signing documents and so forth. We just 3 years ago allowed digital signatures to be legal. So and now it's becoming more the norm. There's still some, especially some older folks that don't feel comfortable with it and still want to come in and sign it. And we have a conference room, and we will sit 6 feet away from them when they come in and do that. But that's really about it. Everybody else we can do digitally, and for their signatures, we can send them to they can do that from the comfort of their home if they have to sign a contract. And about the only thing in our business that's really difficult to do is list a house and give somebody an accurate assessment of the value and the condition of what it's needed to be sold. It's really hard from looking at pictures. Even when people are looking at houses online, when you actually take them in the house, a lot of times they'll say, wow, this isn't really what I thought it was, or the rooms aren't as big, or they'll see, scratches on the woodwork in places that, of course, they're not going to show that in the online videos, because of course we're trying to portray everything in its best light. So those are things that are kind of hard to pick up in this age right now. But I think other than that, most everything can be done digitally.
Well, that's good. So you're not seeing any, outside of the market itself, you're not seeing any roadblocks that are going to be long-term hindrances to real estate.
Not unless they shut us down and they declare us a non-essential business. I mean, I can't see that happening with property management, because, if you're being told you have to stay in your house and your plumbing goes out or your air conditioner doesn't work, you got to call somebody. And if it's managed by a property management company, that's who you're going to have to call. So those places will have to stay open. As far as showing properties, I know in some states they allow deals that are in escrow to close. So like the folks that are in the hotel across the street, they would still be able to get into their house, but we would not be able to show houses or meet with clients for listing their houses or anything like that in the way some states' rules are right now. But as you mentioned, there are a couple of states that are allowing the realtors to go ahead and do their business and allow them to show and so forth. And be declared an essential business. And as I said, we are lobbying for that in Oklahoma right now, because we do have a lot of people, as I said, that are stuck in the middle. They still have to find a house right now, and they don't have a place they can shelter to. So they need to allow us to do that and do what we do well. And I'm hoping that the methods and what we've done to try to mitigate the safety issues will be enough to allow us to be considered for essential business.
So let's assume that the lobbying works, and that I think it will. It just makes sense to me But of course, we live in a time where a lot of things aren't making sense right now.
Right.
But assuming that it all works out the way that we hope it does for you, what tips do you have or advice do you have for both buyers and sellers at the moment, either looking to sell their house or looking to buy one? In these times, granted, we're only a couple weeks into this, so to have this fully refined obviously is not expected. But based on what you've experienced so far, what kind of advice do you have for both parties?
I would tell sellers just to stay the course, be patient. 3 weeks ago, you'd have 4 showings on your house in a week. You'll be lucky to get 1 right now. But there are people out there looking, and it's not to say it won't sell. We've had a couple of situations even last weekend where we got multiple offers on a house. So it's possible even in this market that could happen. But overall, I would say, especially as more and more people are furloughed and are out of work, one of the things we're running into right now is the mortgage companies are calling the employers of buyers who have actually bought a house and are waiting to close. They're calling their employers the day of closing to make sure they're still employed. And we actually had a couple of deals in the last week that have fallen through because on Friday, Goodyear shut down, and we had 2 Goodyear workers that when they called out there said, no, they've been furloughed, so they couldn't close. So those are some challenges that we're facing right now that I think both buyers and sellers need to be aware of. And really, I think it's just being patient. Things are going to take longer, even for the folks that are able to get a loan and are able to buy a house and are waiting to close. It's going to take longer to close a loan right now because the lenders are doing extra steps to protect themselves and make sure that they're not at further risk from somebody, losing their job 2 days after the closing or something like that. And of course, they can't always protect against that, but they want to try to mitigate their losses as well. And for the buyers out there, I think there's opportunity. I think if this goes long term, you are going to see some price pressures because just simple supply and demand economics will tell you if the demand drops and supply is still the same or increases, prices have to drop to attract the buyers that are out there. So, if people do wait a little bit, if they are allowed to buy, they're going to find some deals out there. And you're going to find some sellers willing to drop their prices to make a deal. I don't think we're at that point yet, and I think the sellers don't need to sweat it yet. But we'll see how long this thing goes.
So along the lines of buyer types, getting financing and whatnot, are there any particular types of loans, between VA and FHA that are more conducive to the environment right now, being able to be approved?
Well, the one thing is the military is still getting paid, so that's a big plus. And military folks, one of their benefits is the VA loan. They are allowed to get in for 0 down. The government actually guarantees part of their mortgage, so that's one of their benefits. And so VA loans actually are probably going to be a little bit more secure right now than maybe some other types of loans, just because of the nature of the military. Retirees aren't going to lose their payments right now. So if you've been prior military and you still have VA eligibility, you're still going to be able to probably qualify. So it's actually in a market where if I'm a seller and I see a VA loan, I'll feel pretty good about it. Maybe not so much with some of the other loan types that are out there right now.
Oh, excellent. So right now, I think we're about to the end of our window here. We're only about 30 minutes, but I'm going to throw up your website here. And besides your website, how best do you recommend people get a hold of you?
Well, we have a phone number. You can call us direct, 248-8800. That is the line directly to our office. We also have another website at www.pamandbarry.com. And either one of those places, we have a Facebook site that you can go to. Pam and Barry has a team site, and you can message us there as well. We would love to help you any way we can. And even though everyone is going through some hardship right now, I mean, we are going to work as hard as we have ever had to help you stay safe. If you still want to buy a house, we will definitely help you through that process, or sell a house. I mean, I've been very shocked, to be honest with you. We carry quite a few listings right now. We've had very few sellers that have said, I don't want to show my house and I want to take it off the market. So, and that's a good sign. And I think same with the buyers. The buyers that are out there right now are very, very enthusiastic about trying to find a place. So they're going to buy, and they're serious. So they're going to buy something. So I think you can tell the sellers that that are thinking out there that the buyers that are out there are serious and will probably end up buying something.
Excellent. So outside of just general real estate advice, I've been asking everybody so far what their advice is just to the viewers, general public, whether that's, you know, from a mental health perspective to just a general life perspective. So through your experience, life experience, business experience, what advice do you have just to the general public on how to deal with the current situation?
I think you have to stay as positive as possible. I think you need to stay away from the media. I mean, I used to be a journalist a long time ago, and we used to have a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. And so the general nature of the media is to sensationalize things. And they want a story, they want a big story. And unfortunately, the worse it is, the more excited they get, because it's going to mean more people will want to find out what's going on. So that can actually, and that leads to depression. I mean, you start watching these negative stories and it affects you. And I think if people can just refocus, help other people. You see neighbors down the block, say you have elderly folks who live 3 doors down from you. Check on them. See if they need some milk. See if you can go run to the grocery store for them so they don't have to get out and get exposed. I mean, the more you do to help other people, the better you're going to feel. And the more you're going to be able to overcome any depression or any anxiety that you're going to feel in these days. And we're trying to do that as a team as well. And I think just staying positive, hopeful. I mean, if you know, I belong to a church, and we're doing virtual church groups, and that's helping a lot too. I'm doing a lot of praying. I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Couldn't agree more. All very, very awesome advice. So if anybody wants to do one of these sessions with me, they're completely free of charge. I want to put the website up here and whatnot. You can go down to chrismartin.tv/live interviews and fill out the form for consideration. And we're getting quite a few in. We've got one more tomorrow that we've got on the schedule. And if you want to be part of this, just jump in and you know, we're focusing on business, our business owners or business operators, and just to get that particular aspect of this, because it's kind of unique. If you're not a business owner or a business operator, there's a unique set of challenges that are attached to what we do now because of this pandemic. So if you want to be considered, jump in there and fill out the form, and we'll get you on the list and we'll take a look at things. So Barry, I appreciate very much you joining me today, and it's been very insightful and very helpful, and looking forward to the future for both you and me.
Well, thanks, Chris. And I really do appreciate you giving different businesses an opportunity and a voice to express some of these things, because it is tough right now. And I think the more we can do to talk to each other, especially as we're isolated, I think that's going to be the better for everybody.
I couldn't agree more. I appreciate it very much as well. And this is kind of my form of staying sane through the whole process, because I can't allow people into my studio right now. The couple of shoots that I have to do are at a distance, so we're at least able to observe some form of distance in that case. But with the potential lockdown, we're trying to get them knocked out before, you know, we're completely shut down, being able to do any of that. So you know, you're concerned about potentially being locked down as too. I get it. I'm right there with you. So again, thank you again. And to everybody that is watching, stay tuned for the next episode. We'll be doing this tomorrow, I think around 3 or 4 o'clock. And we'll look forward to seeing you all then. Again, Barry, thank you. And we'll see you all later.